Israel says it thwarted the scale of the Hezbollah attack by launching hundreds of preemptive strikes into southern Lebanon.
It also intercepted hundreds of Hezbollah projectiles fired into northern Israel, although some areas were still hit and damaged. Let's go straight to our Middle East correspondent Allyson in Jerusalem now. Good morning, Ali. What's the situation like now between Israel and Hezbollah? Any updates for us?
Yeah, good morning, Bridget. At the moment, both Israel and Hezbollah are labelling their actions in this incident as a success. It was pre-dawn that Hezbollah launched this significant barrage of rockets and drones into northern Israel. They say more than 340 rockets and drones were fired into the north in what has been one of the most major escalations we've seen from Hezbollah in recent months. Hezbollah says that it wasn't trying to target civilian areas. It says it was going after Israeli military targets. And it says that it was successful in hitting 11 Israeli military targets. That hasn't been confirmed or denied by Israel. However, Israel says the size and scope of this Hezbollah attack has been majorly thwarted by its actions. Before Hezbollah started firing on Israel, Israel had launched a series of preemptive strikes, it says, into southern Lebanon, sending more than 100 fighter jets to hit rocket launchers. It says Israel hit more than 1,000 rocket launchers throughout southern Lebanon, including some launches that were aimed at central areas in Israel, areas like Tel Aviv, big population centres. So both sides have come out now saying that they have achieved their goals and success. Hezbollah saying it struck a blow into Israel and has put fear into Israeli hearts. Israel saying that it has managed to thwart a major attack by Hezbollah. However, the question now is, where will this go to from here? Both sides are saying that there could be further escalation and further retaliation. At the moment, we aren't seeing any increase in that happening. We haven't seen any more rockets from those early hours of this morning, local time. But both leaders of Israel and Hezbollah are saying that the risk and potential for this to spill over is increasing.
We are hitting
Hezbollah with surprising thrusts. 3 weeks ago, we eliminated his chief of staff, and today we foiled his offensive plan. Nasrallah in Beirut and Khamenei in Tehran should know that this is another step on the way to changing the situation in the north and returning our citizens safely to their homes. And I repeat, this is not the end of the story.
What happened was an aggression, not a preemptive action. And if we were to assume this was a preemptive action, it left no impact whatsoever on our military operations today, neither on its missiles, nor on its drones, nor on its fighters.
And Ali, what's the mood there like on the ground on both sides of the border at the moment? I imagine it's pretty anxious, especially for residents caught up in this conflict.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate assessment, Bridge. I've been in northern Israel in the last few hours and people there are stressed. They're tense. I was going along one row of houses in a city that was 20 kilometres from the border that nearly every single house had sustained some sort of damage there today, and people were in shock and disbelief. One man broke down in tears in front of me saying he couldn't actually believe that his home had been affected, and he wasn't at his house when that happened, but he said if he was, he would have been killed. So that's the kind of level of fear that people in northern parts of Israel are feeling. Similarly, in southern Lebanon, we've spoken with people there today who also fear an escalation from Israel and further airstrikes into southern Lebanon. But interestingly, both people on both sides are telling us that they will not be leaving their houses, that they're not going to flee. They both say they have a right to stay in their houses. They won't be forced out. But there does seem to be a sense that people on both sides want this to end. They don't want an escalation. They don't want this to turn into a bigger regional war. And what we're hearing on background from military sources and from sources in Lebanon is that's the likely scenario here, despite some pretty heavy rhetoric from Hezbollah saying that Iran is also preparing a response and the Houthis in Yemen are preparing a response, and rhetoric here in Israel calling for a ground invasion into southern Lebanon. It doesn't appear that this incident would be the trigger for those sort of operations.
Allyson Horn, thanks a lot.